I've been thinking, why are there so many scandals in the evangelical church or in church in general? Like, why is it every time I turn around on the news or there's some new documentary on Netflix about some fallen pastor or some shenanigans that some pastor was caught using the church's money to gamble or using the church's money for massages with a happy ending? Hey, my name's Timmy Gibson, former evangelical, fundamental, tongue talking, spirit filled pastor. 48 years, I was just an evangelical Christian, living my best life for Jesus. Now, agnostic, atheist as it relates to the Bible God. And this is my YouTube show where I talk about my experiences, my story from my life as an evangelical pastor, my life as an evangelical Christian, and even my life now as an agnostic, atheist as it relates to the Bible God. So why are there so many scandals? You know, part of the answer is just because, people are people and people are imperfect and people have, desires and passions and hungers and different things. Specifically, though, because, scandals are kind of prolific everywhere. You see it in politicians, it's kind of a thing that you see. But why does it seem like there are so many in the church? The Catholic Church scandals, goodness gracious. I think it does stem from, like, I think about my own life. I say this all the time, and it bears repeating, especially in this video. I'm a better person now as an agnostic, atheist, as it relates to the Bible God, than I was as a Christian. And I think it's because when I was a Christian, I couldn't be honest. I couldn't be honest with my struggles or with my sins, right? My sins of masturbation, my sins of lust over women, my sins of drinking the devil's wine, right? Or smoking the devil's lettuce. Like, you couldn't be honest about those things. And so since you couldn't be honest, you would do them secretively. Often, pastors, especially pastors, like, I spent 30 years as a pastor. I know a lot of pastors. There's not one pastor that I know, meaning like pastors that are friends of mine, pastors who are still pastoring today, like not one pastor friend of mine do I know is as pure as the driven snow. Not one of them. Like, literally, there's not a single pastor that I know, and I know a lot of them, who is as pure as as an angel. Not one. Now, I have good Christian friends, or in fact, I would say this, forget just the pastor. There's not one Christian person that I've ever met, have ever known, have ever pastored, have ever been in a church congregation with. Never in my life have I ever met a pure, sin-free Christian. Never. I've never, ever in my life met one. Though they act like it. I used to act like it because you can't be honest. Now, you can say, I've been struggling with a little bit of lust in my heart. Like, you can admit that in your accountability group. But you can't be like admitting some things that are actually what's really going on, right? You can't say, I spent 6 hours on the Pornhub and I masturbated for another 30 hours. And then you can be honest to a certain extent to kind of get I know, brother, we love you. We're praying for you. You got this. Resist the devil. Go for God. You can do it. You can do it. But here's why why are there so many scandals? I'm sure there's a plethora of reasons. I'm just thinking back to my own life as a pastor and how I struggled and how I would hide things and how I would keep things from people and how I would tell partially the truth, but not fully the truth because I was worried and scared of judgment, of being ousted or being judged, or my position as leader would be questioned, or like, like I got kicked out of the first Bible college I went to because I drank a wine cooler because my friend, whose name was Van, a friend of mine, decided to go tell the dean of students that Timmy has wine in his refrigerator while the whole time he was having premarital sex with his girlfriend. That's okay. He got married real quick. And she weirdly had a baby about 8 months later. Oh, that's strange. Wonder what was going on there. Anyway, I think what's going on, why there are so many scandals, there's this expectation and this pressure to live perfectly. And the way that you're supposed to live is just, there's all these man-made rules. There's all these expectations and things that you're not supposed to cuss. You're not supposed to look at a woman with lust in your heart. You're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to think this. You're not supposed to think this. And you're not supposed to have sex like that. And you can't have sex with that person. And you can't, like, there's all these things that are, in my opinion, many of those things are outside of what I would call morality, right? It's not immoral at all for a man to be with a man or a woman to be with a woman any more than it's immoral for a man to be with a woman. Like, there's nothing immoral about it. Now, what could make it immoral, right, is no consent, like underage. There's a lot of things that we would all agree on, whether you're Christian or not, that's inappropriate. That's not acceptable. That's not good. We shouldn't do that. But in the Christian world, there are things that are 100% moral and acceptable in the world, but in the Christian world, it's not accepted. Okay? Like, I would imagine that many of you would think there's porn is like, it's just porn. Like, nothing wrong with it per se, meaning in the sense of sinful, right? Like myself, I don't think it's immoral. I'm not into porn. I don't think porn's a good idea if you're in a committed relationship. I'm not even really sure it's a great idea. I think it can taint and mess with your mind a little bit if you are single. But it's not like I look at someone that looks at porn and think, sinner, they're going to hell. Like, that's not the feeling that I get. I just don't think, it's kind of like smoking. Is smoking sinful? No. But I don't think you should do it. It's not good for you. That's the same thing with porn. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think porn is sinful. I don't think smoking is sinful. I don't think drinking is sinful. But, it's not the healthiest thing. If you're, pounding a bottle of whiskey every night and smoking a pack of cigarettes every day and then watching 8 hours of porn, I think you're going to be a particular kind of person and going to be a little bit picky, right? So, but I don't think it's sin, right? And I don't even believe in sin. Sin's a made up thing. Religion made that up. But you understand what I'm saying. So what drives what leads and why are there so many scandals? Well, I think if you rewind the tape, I think if you go back and just pick someone that there's been a scandal with, let's pick I'm not going to say his name, but the scandal that happened out in Colorado Springs with that pastor of New Life Church that, 2015 or 10,000 people in his church. He preached against homosexuality, yet he was seeing a male prostitute, getting a happy ending, and who knows what else from this male prostitute, which, would be identified as homosexual behavior. Yet from the pulpit, he's preaching against homosexual behavior. So let's just take that one case. and I'm somewhat familiar with this case because I've watched the documentary, which is on, I think, Max, or it's on Paramount. It's on some, might be Max. Anyway, you can watch the documentary. It was very fascinating. He's also the dude that was in Jesus Camp. There's a scene in there with this pastor. Anyway, I know because I've watched many interviews and I'm familiar with this story, and I know the guy personally. I'm not really in contact with him now, but I knew him before in my previous life when I was a pastor myself. Anyway, in watching the documentary, there was one thing that really stood out to me I thought was interesting, that he admitted to having same-sex attractions back when he was in 7th grade. So, like, now the scandal makes more sense. Like, okay, so he was raised in a Christian environment where he was not, that was not encouraged to explore his sexuality. It was probably condemned and like, shut that down. That's the devil. Don't, take into thought take captive every thought that tries to, exalt itself above the knowledge of God, or whatever that verse is. Like, I know that's probably what was going on, because I think, if I'm remembering right, he was raised in a Christian family. So it wasn't encouraged, right? It wasn't acceptable to be gay or bisexual, or whatever his story is. That wasn't acceptable. So you bury it. You bury it. You hide it. You in Jesus' name, I come against the spirit of homosexuality. That's what you do. Okay, that's what we did in the Pentecostal church. Is we would pray against the spirit of homosexuality, like it was some kind of demon spirit making you gay, rather than, yeah, you were just born that way. Like I think about my own story. I was born just, I always liked women. Like, I just did. Like, no one had to teach me. No one had to show me pictures. No one had to do anything for me to just, like, that's what I like. Right. And many of my gay friends, they say the same thing. They're like, yeah, I was never molested, anything weird. Just from an early age, I remember, liking the same sex. It's just the way I was. So, clearly people are born that way. No, I would imagine maybe some people could choose. That's an interesting thought, though, because I don't understand that, because, like, for me, I'm heterosexual. I couldn't choose it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't just go, let's see, do I want this or this? Like, no, I couldn't choose to be gay, for me personally. Now, if you're bisexual, you just can choose either way, whatever. But when people are like, no, it's a choice, I never understood that, because I'm like, I don't choose to like women. It's just there. You know what I mean? Like, I just never understood that argument. Even when I was a Christian, even when I was a pastor, I was always like, but really though, like, why would you choose one, especially in a Christian world, why would you choose something that's going to get you ridiculed, going to get you in trouble, going to get you, like, why would you choose a road to hardship if it was truly a choice, right? That doesn't even make sense. Anyway, why are there so many scandals in the church? Going back to this story about this pastor, I think, he was never allowed to explore his own sexuality. Had he been supported in that, he would have found that he was whatever. He would have dated some men, he would have dated some women, and then whatever, if he lived honestly. The problem with especially evangelical Christianity, and this isn't, like, when I say this isn't my opinion, okay? I was in that world for 48 years, and not just an attendee. I was leading a church, my own church, with 300 congregants in there, 300 people in the church. And this isn't like, so I'm not making this up. This was just my firsthand absolute experience, as well as the experience of all of my friends who are, some of them, still in the ministry. So when I say you're not allowed to be truly honest, you're not. Like, I have friends right now who are pastoring right now, and they have secrets because they can't be honest. They can't tell their accountability about it. They can't tell their congregation about it. They would be outed. They would possibly lose their job. They can't tell the overseers or whatever group they're a part of that they've done this or done that or feel this way. And sometimes it's not necessarily even things that they've done. Like, I have some friends that they're pretty, like, they're good people, you know what I mean? But they've, they've jumped on Pornhub and thumbed around a little bit, and then they delete it and feel bad, and God forgive me, cleanse me of my sin, right? like I don't even know if I know one Christian human dude that I've ever met or ever talked to or ever that hasn't done that. Okay. But they can't be honest about it. So this dude that I'm talking about in Colorado Springs that pastored this church, had he been able to be honest about, hey, I'm attracted to men and women. Like, I don't know what to do. And if he could have had a loving, supportive group of people that said, well, I mean, go out with some guys, do that and see what you think. Go out with some women, see what you think. And, I mean, obviously, unless you're going to be in an open type marriage sometime, you have to pick, and most likely who you're going to meet is going to want to be monogamous. Maybe not. But like, if you're going to meet someone and you want to be, in fact, I've done weddings for people like this. I did a wedding for a couple years ago where the man was bisexual and his now wife was heterosexual. And she was like, hey, you're going to have to choose. Like if you choose me, that's it. It's us. And you can't, I'm not going to share you with other people. But they were very open and honest with each other about it. It was a beautiful. I was so honored to be a part of this particular wedding because they were so honest with each other about it, and he felt safe to tell her, and she loved him still. And they're Christian. Like, go figure. So clearly not evangelical fundamental types, but anyway, I think if this particular pastor that went through this humongous scandal, if he would have just been able to be honest about his sexuality, because that was in 7th grade, that when he said he had a same-sex attraction and experience back then. Okay, now this dude is, I think, in his 60s now. And the scandal happened when he was in his mid-50s, I believe, or something like this. So clearly it never left him. Clearly it wasn't a choice. Clearly it was how he was born. Clearly Jesus didn't fix it. Clearly God didn't take it away. Clearly the prayers didn't work. Clearly the preaching against it to others didn't work to help himself get free of the demon of homosexuality, right? So it came back to, in his mind, came back to haunt him later in life. But, all we know is what, in the scandal, all we know is what we know. I would put money on it that there are other secrets from the time of that 7th grade experience and all the way through till his 50s. I guarantee you that what came out is just the tip of the iceberg. That's the tip of the iceberg. Typically, that's how it works in the evangelical church. When there's some kind of scandal, it goes way deeper than anyone lets on. They only want you to know what you absolutely have on video. That's a fact. So, yeah, like when I think of all the evangelical pastors right now, do you have any secrets? And you know how many things people have gotten away? Just like that guy I mentioned the other day in one of my other videos, that Ravi Zachariah dude. Global evangelist. This guy was an apologist for the evangelical church. This guy traveled around the world. All his secrets stayed fairly secret, at least from us, the people out in the world, until he died. And then all these nasty secrets came out, and they went deep. They were deep and wide. They were many. they were they were they were there were a lot. There were a lot of scandalous activities going on, and this dude somehow, for the most part, kept a lot of it pretty covered up and secret. But the people that did know, they were trying to protect their jobs and all that, which is another part. I talked about that in that other video. That's a part of the sickness within the evangelical church. They really try to rally around and protect their own. And if it gets out of that circle and it gets out, then that's when we find out about it. But typically they try to keep that stuff huddled up real close, keep it close to the chest. They don't want that stuff getting out because it doesn't just hurt the individual, it hurts the overall organization. Clearly, they want to keep that stuff on the down low. So, when you hear of a scandal, or if you think your pastor hasn't done some shady stuff, you are just 100% delusional. You are delusional to think that your pastor, your prophet, your evangelist, your TV preacher doesn't have a closet with some toys in there. some crazy toys. I had one of the comments. Now, this wasn't verified, but I have a friend of mine that did verify something, and I'll tell you that here in a second. But there was a comment on one of my videos from an escort, and she said that, yeah, some of her clients are pastors. And I thought, well, of course, that didn't surprise me at all. Now, what she said, that's not been verified. Why would she lie about that? There's really no reason to lie about it. She wasn't even calling anybody out. She was just making a statement. But I know that to be true because I have a friend who has an OnlyFans and has also done some sugar daddy stuff. And she has told me that her clients, many of them are super Christian. They're married. And even one of them was a pastor that was a part of it. So, that shouldn't surprise you. People get away with stuff. They get away with stuff. So, what am I trying to say here? Why are there so many scandals? I think because you're forced early on to not be honest. I think that is at least part of it, is that there's this, I value authenticity. And I'll be honest, when I was a pastor, I was fairly authentic. I was authentic to the point of where I couldn't be authentic anymore, I was honest to a point, but then I couldn't be fully honest. It was like that last 10%. I could be 90% honest with my struggles, or 90% honest with things that I've done, things that I've thought, things that I've said, things I want to do, things I was considering doing, all those things. I was honest to a point, or even things that, I didn't want to, if I didn't read my Bible for the whole week, I couldn't say that, right? There was this expectation that I was reading my Bible every day, right? So I would make a justification and go, yeah, sometimes I struggle to read the Bible, every day. Sometimes I'll miss a day or two. Okay, well, the truth is sometimes I'd missed weeks at a time and didn't read, right? Now, clearly as a pastor, you have to read because you're studying for your sermon. So I would read in that way, in study and preparation, but I wasn't reading the Bible like I was telling everybody in my church to do. So why all the scandals? Well, one, people are just people. People are human. People do things. I think that, because it's not like only in the Christian world are there scandals. There's scandals everywhere, right? And so I think that's just because people do stuff, right? People lie. It's just what people do. But and maybe I'm wrong. I have to look this up. I didn't look this up before I came on here. Maybe it's the averages are the same or whatever, but it seems like because there's such this expectation to live a certain way, to be a certain way, to talk a certain way, to think a certain way, and right, to behave in a certain way, there's this expectation that is impossible to live up to. When I was in Bible college, yeah, we didn't drink openly, and you would be kicked out of the Bible college. I got kicked out of my first Bible college for drinking a wine cooler. It was a California wine cooler. Anyway, then the next Bible college that I went to, obviously I was pretty PTSD from the first college, so I was pretty strict when it came to drinking. But I'm still a horny dude. Just because I'm on a Bible college campus doesn't mean that I'm not still horny, right? And so here I am going to Bible college. I'm trying to stay a virgin. I'm trying. Well, I mean, a born again virgin. I lost my virginity, but I re-got my virginity when I prayed and asked God to forgive me of all those times that I slept with women back in my senior year of high school. And Jesus forgave me. And all those sexual experiences have been covered in the blood of Jesus. And it's been washed away. They've been thrown into the sea of forgetfulness. And they've been cast as far as the east is from the west, never to be remembered against you again. So here I am at Bible college again, another Bible college. And, I'm trying to live right, man. I'm trying to live right. All these experiences are coming into my mind right now. I just can't tell you about them. I just can't tell you about them. But I had a lot of them. Anyway, I'm in Bible college. I'm spending all day reading the Bible and studying and in class and taking notes and listening to these professors talk about Jesus. And I'm meeting these women from all around the world, and they're cute. I'm normal, right? And I'm trying to live right, but I like the women. I'm trying to live right, but I'm single and horny. I'm trying to, right? all the friends, all my friends at least. I mean, I wasn't friends with everybody, but everybody was struggling with that. All my guy friends, I even had a couple gay friends. They kind of had it made because you had male roommates, and if you got lucky, if you were gay and you got lucky and got with a gay roommate, you just had a live-in roommate, and no one was the wiser. But I wasn't gay, so they had separate dorms for the men and the women. So I had to get into my shenanigans elsewhere. And in fact, at this other Bible college I went to, the second one I went to, I lived on campus at the first one I went to. The second Bible college I went to, I lived off campus. I lived in my own apartment. So, and it was a little bit a ways from the school, so I could do whatever I wanted, and no one was going to know. And you never told anybody, right? I had a want to. I wanted to live right, but then you start dating someone, and you know how it is, and things happen, right? What's the difference? Well, I can't tell anybody about it, and I'm crying and repenting to the Lord and asking God to forgive me. And if one of my friends felt so compelled to tell me about some sin that they did, then I'd maybe tell them about my sins with my girlfriend, what I was doing, right? To see if they, we could be each other's compatibility partner, or each other's accountability partner. You'll confess your sins to me, and I'll help forgive you, make you feel better about it, because then I'll tell you about my sins and what I've been doing and how I've been right? So yeah, that's when I think about what's the reason for all the scandals, I think it's just clear. People are people. You're trying to live at a certain standard that's just impossible to live by, right? I mean, think about it. You're single, no masturbation. That's like what's that one? What's that one? I heard someone say this the other day that said, um, how many? They asked a room of people, or maybe let's just say men, how many masturbate? And like nearly everybody's hand went up, and then the guy says, "Well, we know who the liar is, right? Because everybody." Now I'm sure there's maybe that one. There could be one person listening to this, and I would be curious to see what kind of person this is. That is like, I've never masturbated, not once in my life, right? There could be someone out there that hasn't ever masturbated, but everybody has, and it's fine. But not in the evangelical Christian church. It is not fine. It is an act of the devil. It's lust. It's evil. It's the devil. So growing up with that in your mind all the time, well, I think there's also the natural thing in humans. When you say don't touch that, well, it makes you want to touch it, right? I mean, it just does. Like, don't touch that. It's like, well, now I want to touch that, right? It's like anytime I'm walking around, it says don't walk on the grass. I'm like, well, now I want to walk on it, right? Wet paint, don't touch. I mean, there's just something about that too. So I think the scandals just come from people are people. People haven't, especially those in the church, especially in the evangelical church where you see a lot of scandals. People are trying to live at a standard that you can't live at, and it doesn't allow for health dealing with things that you might struggle with in a healthy way, in an honest way throughout your life. So here you are, you're going through life just bearing something, or you're feeling shamed from it by it's not even shame from others. You feel an internal shame, like, what's wrong with me? Why do I feel? I remember one time, and my mom just reminded me of this the other day. She said that one time she goes, do you remember when? I was like, I vaguely remember that conversation. But she said that you were so distraught over the lust that was in your heart. She said that you were just inundated. And I was like, I don't know, 15, 16, 17. I was in that age range, where all the hormones were going. And I did have lust in my heart, which, I don't look at lust as not a bad thing now. I don't look at it as a bad thing, um, in a proper context, right? I mean, I'm not going to teach on lust right now, but I just remember feeling just this overwhelming longing and desire to have sex. When I turned, it was about that. I mean, of course, I think I was pretty turned on pretty young, pretty early. Like I remember, I think I found a Playboy magazine in the woods when I was like 10, 11, 12, which feels young to me. And I remember like liking the pictures and thinking, oh my goodness, that's beautiful. Like, what is that? What how do I get that? So I remember that pretty early on, seeing a Playboy magazine, and then I hid it in the woods and would go back, and every time I'd get home from school, I'd go out into the woods and undig it and look at it. So I remember being pretty early on, and then I had a neighbor friend. His parents had some old reel to reel, like literally like reels with film porn movies. And we'd come home from school before his parents got home. We'd put in the reel to reel and watch him up on the wall of the bedroom. Couldn't believe what we were seeing. So honestly, I think it's those kinds of things that we feel so guilted, so shamed, and so wrong, and so filthy, and so dirty. Yet there's an attraction to it all. And especially when you think you can't do it, you think you can't see it, when you think, I don't know. I just think there's some kind of an allure when it's the excitement of the forbidden fruit. There's something about that forbidden fruit that I think for evangelical Christians in particular, maybe Christians in general, that that every once in a while they want a little taste of that forbidden fruit. Again, I counsel now, present time, some uber Christian dudes that they'll do great. They won't look at porn for about a month or two, and then they go on a binge and they watch a bunch of porn and masturbate until they've got rashes on their manly parts, and then they feel really guilty about it and shamed, and they feel like they've let themselves down, let God down, and like all, and then they don't do it, and they deny themselves the pleasure of it for a long time, and then they fall, and literally it's just this. Like it is just it's like someone that's like, I used to be addicted to cigarettes. Now I'll go a month and won't smoke, and then I'll smoke 5 packs, and then I don't smoke for a month, and then I smoke 5 packs, and then 20 years later, they're still doing the same thing. Well, you never did quit. Like you never did get off that. You never did get off them cancer sticks. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't even know. I clicked on start the video and just started talking because I was thinking about this question. Why are there so many scandals? Like, what is up with that? And that's it. I think that's it. I think that, that other video I did, I think it's called X Pastor. You know what? I'll link it. I'll link it in this description. I know I've said that before and I didn't link it. I'll link it in the description of this video because it's got like 35 or 40,000 views. I was really shocked, actually. I kind of had a feeling that the content was probably going to be something that people are going to be very interested in. By the way, cuss and discuss down below. Don't forget, like, subscribe, do all the stuff. I should have said that way sooner. So yeah, I think that video I talk a lot about what's going on there, how the inner circles of the evangelical mind works, and how the little club, how the little cult operates. A lot of insights. I think you'll gain a lot of insights, especially if you're not from the evangelical group. It'll be very insightful for you. If you're in the evangelical or have been in the evangelical group, you'll be like, Timmy, you're right on. Like, yep, exactly like that. And I'm probably going to do a follow-up video to that one because I have a lot more to say about that. As you can tell, it's kind of leaking into this video anyway. But yeah, that's what's up. I think that's where all these scandals come from. I think whenever people can't be true to who they really are, and they can't be open and honest with their lives for fear of judgment, ridicule, being ostracized, being whatever, it forces people to go into hiding and go into secret, and then people start having secret lives. Publicly they're saying this thing, just like the guy in Colorado. Publicly they preach against homosexuality. Privately he's doing homosexual things. Like, it's pretty easy, right? That's why I often still teach this, believe it wholeheartedly: live open and honest. Live open and honest lives. And you can't do that. You just can't do that as a fundamental evangelical Christian. You can't be open. You can't be honest. Again, you can be honest to an extent. And again, like I told you, I don't know a single Christian guy friend that I've known throughout my entire life. And I was in lots of accountability groups. I had a lot of close friends. Now they don't tell me crap because I'm not in that inner circle anymore. But people I know very, very well, like people that I know that pastor mega churches, are on staff at mega churches, work for mega churches, work for mega ministries. Like, I still know people that are out working right now in the evangelical church. I know people that work for Kenneth Copeland, that TV wingnut weirdo guy that kind of looks like the devil. Like, I know people in all the big ministries around the world, many of them. I know people that work there and work in and with and all that. Not one of them has a clean closet. Not one. They all have skeletons in the closet. In fact, I'm not going to give his name, but I do know somebody who's on TV on a regular basis. And I know him personally, and he's married and is with a ministry that is 100% against homosexuality. Yet, this guy on the side in private will do homosexual things. But it's on the down low, keeps it on the down low. Yet this guy is literally on TV. And if it was to come out, and if anybody that he's with had proof, just like the guy in Colorado Springs, this guy would be outed and removed. It would be a huge scandal. It would be a huge scandal. And there are, like, things he's doing are scandalous. Yet, here he is on TV doing his thing, acting like he's a voice of God, and he's this perfect man of God with wisdom from God, and he's the biggest sinner just like everybody else. Why are the scandals? Primarily, I really do think it's because people can't be honest in that world, so they hide. Clearly, the things they're hiding are scandalous. Sometimes they get found out and it becomes a scandal. Many never get found out, or they get found out after they die, like that Ravi Zachariah guy. All right. Peace, everybody. Don't forget, like, subscribe, make comments, do all the stuff. Also, I do have a Facebook group called the Deconstruction Community. If you go to my community page of the YouTube here, you can find the link that I posted in there with the picture of that group. I think we have like over 300 some members at this point. So it's a great place for those who are deconstructing, who are agnostic, atheist, unbelievers, non-believers. It's not for Christians. So don't try to lie and get in there. All right, peace, everybody.